Are you on edge? We live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of the Edge of Everyday podcast, which drops bi-monthly on all your favorite podcast platforms. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and tough talk about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. Real talk with real people that sparks provocative invitations to leap out of what's safe. Sandra Bargman, on the edge of every day. Thanks for listening. Hello, everyone. I'm Sandra Bargman, and welcome back to the Edge of Everyday, streaming on all your favorite podcast platforms. Are you a change maker? Do you walk between worlds, between cultures, between systems? If you answered yes to any of these questions, the Edge of Everyday is the place for you. In a nutshell, this podcast is about pushing boundaries and exploring rough edges. Through conversations and shared stories with friends and colleagues, it's my hope that we can begin to understand our edges. And what I mean by edges is those places where we are fearful, those places where we are resistant to change, those places where paradox and contradicting identities live in our beliefs and in our understandings, both individually and collectively. We live in edgy, challenging times. We cannot keep looking away from the ugly, from the difficult, and silence is no longer an option. Life isn't black or white, it's both, and I want to talk about that. I want to face the tension of paradox, and I want to engage in the hard conversations. I want to explore the rough edges between our light-filled brilliance and our dark, shadowy corners, because the more we recognize our own edges and get real about them, the more we can help others to do the same. And that, I fully believe, can help to change the world. So thanks for tuning in. Today is October 31st, 2025. Happy Halloween, happy Samhain, happy Witches' New Year. And happy anniversary to the Edge of Everyday podcast. This month marks the 4th year anniversary of when I started this podcast in 2021. Blank, blank, blank. So fast. It was originally at TalkRadio.NYC. And it today marks the 2-year anniversary of when I moved the podcast to MaximizeU.Life. And of course, we also stream on all your favorite podcast platforms. Thank you, Sal and Laura Selly at MaximizeU.Life. Thank you to my inspiring guests, my deep gratitude for sharing your wisdom and wit with us. And most importantly, thank you to my loyal listeners. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. The numbers look great and keep growing, and I couldn't do it without you. Please continue to share this podcast with friends and family, and take a moment to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sandra Bargman, on the Edge of Every Day. And if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. Welcome all you creatures and beings as we gather to celebrate an anniversary and Halloween. Here in the Northeast, the leaves are turning and falling, and the darkness continues to grow each day. On this night, in the place between the old and the new, all is possible. It is in this place of paradox where transformation lives. And that place is the edge of every day. Today's episode is a replay of one of my most favorite episodes, my special Halloween and happy anniversary episode from last year, featuring my dear, dear, dear bestie, Leslie Ellis, Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, and actor. It's so juicy. In the episode, I share a bit about the history of Halloween, of Samhain, and also about my own spiritual journey, the history of that, and my natural pagan leanings. And this episode was recorded right before the 2024 presidential election. So it's really fascinating to revisit that headspace. Now that we are a year into this regime, and my conversation with my uber talented friend Leslie is absolutely divine. Oh, how I loved revisiting it. So let's dive in. And again, thank you for joining me here at the edge of every day. And thanks for listening. So happy Halloween. I hope you are all having fun, dressing up and trick-or-treating. I dressed up this past weekend on Saturday with some friends who came up to visit from the city. I'm in my home in the Catskill Mountains. These are the same friends of ours with whom we dressed up as the Rose family from Schitt's Creek 3 years ago. I know, 3 years ago, Blake. It was so much fun. And I have to say that my husband was a brilliant Johnny Rose. But this year, we went a little bit more easily into the men being scary clowns and the women were ghoulish Day of the Dead witches. You know, when in doubt, bewitch, you know. And today I'm wearing a gorgeous witch hat created for me by Anne Henry Mungmode. Thank you, Anne. Shout out to you. You can find Anne and all of her incredible crocheted creations at One Crafty Witch Crochet. For the most part, I dress up as a witch every year. I just get lazy and, you know, I'm just a witch. Lucy of Charlie Brown's Lucy in The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown said, a person should always choose a costume which is in direct contrast to her own personality. And in my case, I would disagree. It is in direct alignment with my personality. So all my life, Halloween has been a favorite holiday. I always connected to the creativity and intention, the revelry and the history of Halloween, and my intuitive understanding of the connections to the other worlds. And as an actor, I love the costumes and the role playing. And it wasn't until my late 20s that I got really curious about the true history of Halloween. And it wasn't until I went to Interfaith Seminary in 2005 that I really explored the spiritual tradition of Wicca and witchcraft and started to attend holiday gatherings with a New York City coven celebrating the Wheel of the Year, a yearly cycle of seasonal festivals and rituals that mark the year's solar events and midpoints. So what is Halloween? And more importantly, what is Halloween based upon? Author of Memoir of a Witch, Amanda Yates Garcia, says, witchcraft is a practice, a set of tools. It's not the end goal itself. The goal of witchcraft is to increase our capacity to dwell between the worlds of the imagination, the other world, and the material world, between creation and resistance. As they say in witchcraft, what happens between the worlds affects all the worlds. Oh, love that. I could so relate to that. Being in that liminal space that affects everything. So the ancient Celts, which is my lineage, believed the year was divided into two parts, the lighter half in the summer and the darker half in the winter. And Halloween, or Samhain, was the division between those halves, the end of the harvest and the time when the veil between our world of the living and that of the other world was at its thinnest, when the spirits of the dead could most readily mingle with the living once again. Samhain was the great festival of winter's beginning, reinvented by the Christians as All Hallows' Eve, in an attempt to co-opt and missionize the holiday, followed by All Saints' Day, both of which retained the elements of remembering and honoring the dead. The word hallows comes from the Middle English halwe, 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 or holy. The saints were holy people, but so are all the pagan deities. Samhain, also known as Halloween, Hallowmas, or the Witch's New Year, is always held on October 31st. Ancient Celts marked Samhain, the word meaning summer's end in Irish Gaelic, as the most significant of the 4 quarterly fire festivals, taking place at the midpoint between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. So, in honor of Halloween, Samhain, the Witch's New Year, and for my love of ritual, I offer this invocation. Green is extinguished in a blaze of yellow, red, orange, and brown. Thought loses its power, drawn to the earth where the Queen of Darkness, the Great Mother, reigns. We offer ourselves up to her, asking for rest, for release, for freedom from the daily, from the ordinary, to wander in our dark wildness until the sun returns. And so it is. And I light my candle in honor of that beautiful invocation. And so, happy anniversary to the Edge of Everyday podcast. When I created the Edge of Everyday as a solo show in 2014, which, by the way, it's an anniversary for the show too, the solo show. And I performed it in the cabaret rooms of New York City and the surrounding areas. I never would have thought it would become a podcast. I didn't even know what a podcast was, let alone listen to them. And I never would have thought that I would even understand the Edge of Every Day as my spiritual leadership platform. So what does that even mean? I think most people who listen to the show understand that I am very spiritually focused and highly curious about the mystery of life. But they can also see that my show is not a spiritual show per se. The people who listen to my show and the people who are guests on my show are a huge spectrum of seekers. Some would call themselves spiritual. Some might call themselves religious. Others might call themselves nature lovers. Some might call themselves atheists or non-believers or poo-pooers. I want the conversations to be invitations to everyone of all understandings, spirit, God, goddess, optional. Conversations that push us out of our comfort zones and call us to our very real questions around the mystery of life. And I'm not what you would call precious about my spirituality. I want realness, real fucking realness. I'm very curious about the spiritual journey, however it's defined, and I share this because some of you may not realize that I'm a seminary-trained and ordained interfaith minister. I mentioned that I'm a minister in passing in my conversations with some of my guests, but it bears repeating today for this recalibration episode, and I think it's humanity's disconnect from the sacredness of all life through materialism and capitalism, the patriarchy that has landed us in these tumultuous times where people are struggling to share their voice. So I want to crank up the heat in my small corner of the world. So here is from my website, sandrabargman.com. What is interfaith interspirituality? I'm completely fascinated by the spiritual journey, the wonderment, the search, be it through religious traditions, mystical contemplation, earth-based wisdom, or a connection with nature. While my personality is drawn to some more than others, I find my quest to be outside of any organized religion. If asked about my tradition of choice, my reply is simple. I'm part spirit and part human. My tradition is curiosity and creativity. Interfaith is not a religion, rather, it's a philosophy that espouses the understanding that there are many paths to universal truths. My friends and colleagues, wedding couples and clients, span the spectrum of the many ways to explore the spiritual aspect of being human. From atheist to Zen monk and everything in between. What we all share is the desire to serve humanity and to awaken to unity consciousness. I am an edge walker. I bridge build. I cross-pollinate. I vision the future. I seek out and explore the paradoxes of life and the paradoxes of myself. And that, of course, includes the desire to explore the edge between being human and being spirit, the edge between life and death, which is what Samhain, Halloween, is all about. When I was in seminary, and for those who are curious about that, that was the new seminary for interfaith studies, which at the time was in New York City, and it's now in the Maryland, D.C. area. The first interfaith seminary in the US, I might add, which began in 1981. And I received my ordination from the new seminary at St. John the Divine in New York City and went on to have another 2-year seminary journey at One Spirit Interfaith Seminary, also in New York. It was in seminary that I reconnected with the ancient roots of theater that were one and the same as the ancient Greek spirituality roots, where it was believed that the actors were channeling the wisdom of the gods and the goddesses, bringing this wisdom back from the other worlds. So my connection to the veil, to spirit and creativity and the mundane world that we live in has been there my entire life. And this connection that I made in seminary sparked the idea for my production company, Sacred Stages, LLC. In addition, I was, for 4 years, the dean of first-year students at the new seminary, where I also taught ritual. And I brought this love of ritual into the structuring of the original Edge of Everyday solo show, creating what I cheekily called a cabaret ritual, the show that blurred the edges between cabaret, ritual, and performance art. So at Samhain in particular, we ritualize the knowledge that death is close, but also that our lives matter, that this present moment is always a portal, a circle of white flame that holds space for things wildly new and very old. All our work is ancestor work. And you know I talk about epigenetics and what we hold of our ancestors in our bodies and in ourselves. And in the great fertility tradition of witchcraft, we are the womb and the tomb. We sit on the edge of life and death, calling new possibilities into the world. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is. It's great to share all of that. Great to revisit all of that. So trick or treat, which is it? Here on the edge of every day, it's both, right? We are not either or, we're both here on the edge of every day. So I'm going to ask you, who is your favorite witch? You know, when I was little, it was probably Samantha from Bewitched, or maybe her mother, Andorra, that wonderfully colorful Andorra. I'm dating myself. Go run, all you young people. Go check out Bewitched on YouTube, on the interwebs. Or if you're a Disney lover, is it Ursula from The Little Mermaid? I mean, I loved her too. That's one that you younger people probably know. I got to play a marvelous witch, the witch that was mentioned in The Tempest, Sycorax. I mean, you know, when you read, if you like Shakespeare and you read The Tempest, she's just mentioned briefly. You could forget that it was even mentioned. But I played Sycorax in a play called Sycorax, the character and the title of the play, which the playwright pulled her story out and created this whole backstory. It was wonderful. And I got to play. It was by a play by Fingar Gale. It was directed by Joan Kane of Ego Actus. So that's a favorite of mine. But I have to say, I think my favorite witch is from the musical Into the Woods by Stephen Sondheim, who famously sings, it's so brilliant, it's so brilliant. I'm not good, I'm not nice, I'm just right. I'm the witch. Let me hear that again. I'm not good, I'm not nice, I'm just right. I'm the witch. Oh, this line succinctly sums up the myth or the archetype of the witch as the angry, vengeful, righteous, lonely, banished old hag. All of the powerful, emotional, passionate, intuitive traits of the feminine have been relegated to the shadow, to the darkness, have gone underground in this mythos, in this archetype. But the great feminine goddesses were complex, with qualities that were both light and dark. The life-giving, creative, and nurturing qualities, as well as the qualities of anger and destruction, independence, sensuousness, and sexuality. Sound familiar? Still, wave after wave of feminists uprising for equality, equity, and inclusion. And still, in 2024, women must and are challenging the status quo of patriarchy to reclaim their complete femininehood and maintain their equity. We are less than 1 week away in this country from our next election. Women having lost our agency and freedom over our own bodies and our life-saving healthcare. Women around the world are angry, and like the witch, very rightly so. And we are channeling this anger to awaken others, to protest, to reclaim our own voice and power, to redefine female leadership, and to care for our Mother Earth. Women's wisdom, sensuality, spiritual strength, and connection to the earth has long been feared by the patriarchy and the church. And with that understanding, you can see the connection of patriarchy and the massive climate crisis that we're facing. According to Carmen Spagnola, author of the book Practical Magic for Turbulent Times, tells us the two attributes that make a witch are animism and activism. So what is animism? The belief in the ensoulment of the entire world, that everything has a soul or an oversoul. Trees, rocks, water, insects, everything. All is connected and in relationship, and there is no hierarchy of importance or dominion over any other being. And I would also say that this is a deep understanding of the planetary ecosystems, as well as unity consciousness. And activism, the protection of the oppressed, an uprising against the privatization of the common resources that should be available to all beings, the protection of common spaces, the protection of ways of being, and the protection of agency over one's own body. I had the marvelous Amanda Yates Garcia, whom I quoted earlier, who is the author of Memoir of a Witch and is a modern day witch. She has a fantastic podcast and Substack, so check her out. I had her on my show. It was episode 48, and you can find that on my YouTube channel, Sandra Bargman at the Edge of Every Day. And when I asked her in that episode, what is witchcraft? This is what she said. Witchcraft is the art of changing consciousness at will, and which is a quote from Dion Fortune, who is one of the grandmothers of witchcraft, and as transmitted through Starhawk, another founding grandmother of the craft. To change consciousness at will, first you have to recognize where your consciousness is, and most of us have trouble with that. So it means recognizing what you're thinking about, how you are observing the world, and how you are relating to the world. In other spiritual traditions, for instance, Buddhism, you might meditate in order to become aware of how you are relating to the world, or how you're seeing the world, how you're thinking about it. Witchcraft is a series of tools that you might use in order to find your agency, to find your power, to find your own personal and authentic will. End quote. I just love that. And here's a quote from Starhawk that she mentioned, whom I've had the wonderful opportunity to meet and to learn from and be in ritual with. Starhawk, American feminist and author. She is known as a theorist of feminist neo-paganism and ecofeminism. She says, quote, witchcraft offers the model of a religion of poetry, not theology. I love that. A religion of poetry, not theology. Feels so like songwriting, like creativity. It presents metaphors, not doctrines. It leaves open the possibility of reconciliation of science and religion, of many ways of knowing. She goes on to say, when we practice magic, we are always making connections, moving energy, identifying with other forms of being. Magic could be called the applied science that is based on understanding of how energy makes patterns and patterns direct energy. To put it another way, at its heart is a paradox. And you know how I love paradox. Consciousness shapes reality. Reality shapes consciousness. Yes, yes. And this is the edge of every day in a nutshell. When I briefly lived on that biological research station up just outside of Albany, when I was first living and marrying my husband, which was at this point 30 years ago now, yoo-hoo, blink, I was to come upon a book that became one of my most treasured books, Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And it became a sort of Bible for me, and I know it's kind of a Bible for a lot of women. And in it, she writes, within every woman, there is a wild and natural creature, a powerful force filled with good instincts, passionate creativity, and ageless knowing. Her name is Wild Woman, but she's an endangered species. Though the gifts of the wildest nature come to us at birth, Society's attempt to civilize us, that would be, in my opinion, patriarchy, to civilize us, into rigid roles, has plundered this treasure and muffled the deep, life-giving messages of our own souls. Without wild woman, we become over-domesticated, fearful, uncreative, trapped. The wild woman would defy the rules, traditions, and standards of patriarchal society, as above all, she is moved by a longing for freedom, not only of the self, but that of humanity. In her quest for love, she puts herself through the most unlikely situations to express truth in the world. She is here to teach us all a lesson of light, love, and freedom, the one true nature of the soul. Due to her choices, she will suffer profoundly, but she will always continue in her adventure in a fascinating quest for love, truth, and freedom. The wild woman is the witch. She is the one that owns both her light and her shadow. She is whole and unafraid of her completeness. And this is what I mean by the edge of every day. The willingness to be real about our seeming paradoxes and our contradictions, and to celebrate our light and have the courage to seek the wisdom and the power and the freedom in the shadows. The German word for witch is hex. It's spelled here H-E-X-E, hexe, I guess, which means fence. And the word hag also means fence. So witches ride the fence. They are the fence riders as they push the borders and push the boundaries and balance the edges, the human and the divine, the human and the underground, the real and the other world. The witch is the veil. In witchcraft, each of us must reveal our own truth. And so it is. So there is your mini lesson on witchcraft. There are many fantastic resources to, I mentioned Amanda Yates Garcia, I mentioned Carmen Spagnola, and I mentioned Starhawk. They all have books and websites and podcasts and teachings. If you want to delve deeper, and the book that I mentioned by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, again, is Women Who Runs with Wolves. And you have a little bit more background of how all of this understanding is very much a part of my spiritual journey. It's my spiritual platform, and it is woven into the creation of The Edge of Every Day, which in turn spawned this podcast. So thanks again. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for my glorious special guest, whom I also had on the original episode, which, of course, again, you can see the video. She is one of my all-time favorite besties in the whole world, but we'll get to that after I read her CV. Here we go. Grammy Award-winning vocalist Leslie Ellis performs live across the USA and Europe with her hit songwriter husband, Casey Kelly, in the new duo, Kelly and Casey. Through her career, Leslie has sung with many artists, including Celine Dion on My Heart Will Go On from the movie Titanic, for which Leslie won the Grammy, and Thomas Dolby on his latest album, 40, featured on Hyperactive. She sang the original soundtrack song 6 Times Around the Sun for the CBS miniseries Perfect Murder, Perfect Town. And she's done countless TV, radio jingles, and song demos for Sony Music. In 2007, her self-penned song, Flyer Song, was adopted by the U.S. Navy and made into a video as a tribute to the troops and their families. She's also written songs, dozens of which have been cut by artists, including the Bellamy Brothers and New York City-based recording artist David Ippolito. As an actress, Leslie has appeared on television and the Broadway stage, Hats, La Cage aux Folles, and City of Angels, among others, and in the films The New True Charlie Wu, Happy New Year, Mr. Cates, and the feature film Unconditional. In 2007, she starred in the independent film My Name is Wallace, which was invited to the Cannes Film Festival. Leslie also has a successful career as a voiceover artist and a book narrator. She now tours in the award-winning duo Kelly and Ellis with hit songwriter husband Casey Kelly. Welcome, Leslie. Girl, 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 you.
And we're unmuting. If we learned anything from 2020.
Well, I just made you sit through all that long script, although
I was realizing I was sniffing and doing noises, and I thought, oh my God, this is totally disruptive. I put it on the mute.
On the mute.
Oh,
I saw you laugh when I said on the interwebs.
Yes, I laughed many times, and I was also moved. It was a lovely.
Oh, thanks.
Delving into definitions and insights. I mean, I love to hear what people think about things and how they can. The weaving and the beautiful language people use, whether it's Sondheim or one of these women, these contemporary Wiccans, right?
Yeah,
really,
totally.
really neat stuff.
Well, and for my listeners, a little background on how this podcast, this particular idea for this episode even was birthed was that, when I was earlier in my podcast journey, learning how I wanted to do this, what were the best steps to take, it was revealed that it was powerful to have some of your episodes feature only yourself. And, which I understood, but was somewhat resistant to doing. And what felt right to me at that time and continues to feel right was to ride the coattails of Samhain, of Halloween, because I am so much into earth-based religions. And so, I very much relate to Wiccan and to witch. I wouldn't necessarily specifically call myself a witch because I'm resistant to call myself an anything. But if there's anything I'm going to call myself, it's going to be a witch. Or more importantly, a druid or a shaman, anything that's a pagan, anything that's earth-based. But that being said, but just to do it by myself, and I spoke to my glorious girlfriend, Leslie, with her incredible friendship and support and talent and wisdom to help me to come on as a special guest and help me. How can I share more of who I am in addition to highlighting her, in addition to highlighting, for this specific episode? So that's how it all came to be.
Yeah, I mean, you said this earlier that you don't want to be precious, you want to be real. And I've been telling you this for years. That's the reason why I find you like a spiritual leader, and particularly for me, is because you have these insights into things that sometimes we can't understand. And you don't give a definition, you just say, think about this, consider this. But also, you are a Reverend Road Rage, and you do walk this earth with the rest of us. And, you deal with it as a human. You're a human being. You're not, standing up there, changing your name to Pima and shaving your head. You're you're saying I'm Sandra. I'm pissed off. I didn't have enough coffee this morning, or
Yeah.
whatever. So that's
Oh,
where
thanks,
I
Mike.
find the meeting of the human and the spiritual within you.
Oh, thanks, my girl. Well, again, thank you. I so appreciate that. And thank you again for doing this updated version. And
Yeah.
so I want to ask you, oh, I think we said, I like to tell how I know my guests. I think I mentioned that you're a bestie, but for those, I mean, it really goes back to when we were popped out of the womb. We went to college together.
Children.
We were children. We were just emerging, raging women.
We thought we were so old and knowledgeable and
Right.
worldly, and we were just babies.
We were indeed little babies, fresh out of high school, going to conservatory at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, which my listeners, you may recall, is my hometown. Hey, my God. To this day, my girl and I still speak Pittsburghese together.
Oh my God.
Hey, my God. So, I wanted to ask you, Les, who is your favorite witch?
Well, it's very interesting that you asked me this. You asked me this 2 years ago on the program, and I think there was no question at the time. And in preparation, we should just be honest, in preparation for the show, we did discuss this. But so I was, reading over the notes and listening to it from last time. And I have to say, it's probably changed. But at the time, I did say that Grisabella, the character of Grisabella,
which she did on Broadway. Thank you very much, people.
I did in a Broadway tour, which is the same thing.
It's totally the same thing.
It's totally the same thing. But the reason why was because in order to identify with the character, I had to draw upon a lot of childhood, I don't want to call it trauma lessons. And Stan, you talk about this in the book that you wrote for your friend Leslie, that you wrote a chapter in for your friend Leslie Michaels. It is the journeys of childhood, through bullying, through and when you're a smart child, and it took me 30, I'm going to say 45 years to realize I was intelligent,
like
that I was
wicked smart.
Because the world tells you you're stupid. And I, sensitive soul that I was, said, oh, of course I am. And so I had these challenging things, and going through childhood with these separations of myself, separations of me from society. I think I really buried it. I know I buried it when we were going through school. I didn't have anything that I could identify with to call upon. However, in the role of Grisabella, I was able to really unapologetically explore all those emotions. As a young person, I was only 24, and a young 24, so I thought I knew so much, and I really knew close to nothing. And so that's a particularly favorite of the women, of the female knowledgeable witch-like characters for me, because it was a way for me to explore my very own spirituality, or my very own sensitivities, my own tendencies. She is a character many people may know from having seen the show, but for those who haven't, is a character who is criticized for having been and shamed for having been a certain kind of woman in her youth, exploring her sexuality, exploring her fabulousness, her intelligence, her
oh my God, this is
glorious,
so
her beauty, her everything. And she got
her too muchness.
cut down. Oh, she was too extra, way too extra. And she was diminished to an older version of herself through the years, who was begging through life, begging for food, begging for a place to sleep, begging for love, begging for any, acknowledgement. Do I exist? Will you look at me? Do I exist? And And finally, at the end of the show, she just, in a scream, and an absolute scream, screechy scream, which is why it's the highest song ever written. Um, which was not lost on me, thanks to the magnificent Stanley Lebowski. You know, she screams and she says, "What's the matter with you people? You know, I need you. Can you not reach out to a fellow human, to a fellow cat, you know, if you will?
Yes, of course.
Can you not reach me? Can you not try to reach me?
Yeah.
Because I need help. What else do you want me to say? You want me to say I did it wrong? You want me to say I made mistakes? You want me to say I was a whore? Do you want me to say I was whatever? Sure, you win. Now, help me."
Yeah.
And that is like such a powerful message. Like,
oh my Lord.
It defeats everybody else's BS, right? Because everyone's saying, well, but she blah, blah, blah. Well, but she, yeah. Okay, you win.
Yeah. And it's and it's every witch's story and every strong woman story and every where we are today.
Yeah.
As women around the world, not just here in the United States.
Oh my gosh. In many places globally, so much more so than here. Yeah. Where every being of your waking moment is controlled.
Begging for,
begging for life, begging for the necessities, begging for love, begging for mercy, begging for help, whatever. Ooh. So, yeah. So that was
beautifully shared, Les. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. It's something I just feel very deeply about. And did at the time. It was just too overwhelming almost for me as a younger, woman. I was still a child at 24. What do you want?
Wow.
But today, I really quickly, and I know I've been talking.
Oh, no. Go. Okay. There is no time. We don't, no.
Okay. But today, after 2 of the longest, hardest years of my life of climbing uphill, of rock climbing, of just the hardest journeys that I've taken over the past 2 years since our program in 2022. I am much more identifying with, and I could call it Joan of Arc. I could call it so many women. I could call it my mother, who now lives with me and who I have seen again rise to the stature of warrior, as I've seen her do my whole life through all the various hurdles that she was asked to, to jump, and all of the things she had to overcome while still nurturing us. And that is warrior. She is warrior. I am a warrior. And we are warriors. And anyone who thinks we aren't, well, I was going to say has another thing coming, but why bother with those people?
Yeah.
Unless they're running for president. But I digress.
Hardly. Tick tock, 4 more days. I love this. The warrior.
Yes.
And as you know, as somebody who walks in the world calling themselves Amazon, yes, I very much relate to the warrior archetype and really walking the world in it. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to treat our listeners to a recording that Leslie did called The Warrior. Or is it
we
just
are warriors?
We are warriors.
Sorry.
Okay, tell us quickly about the song.
Okay, so it's not about war. It's not about fighting, right? It's not about battle or anything sort of, as you mentioned, patriarchal. It's not about how many people did you kill today. It's about the very activities of daily life, of female life, of human life. We have to traverse in order to survive and thrive.
Yeah.
To survive and thrive. So that's the distinction between warrior in the masked.
Right. In the patriarchal way. It's a reclamation also of the word warrior.
Yes.
You think warrior is not all about a man cutting somebody's head off in war. War is patriarchal. Warrior is you can be a warrior for the light, for the love, for
Yeah.
what is just and what stands for freedom. And that's,
Yep.
of course, who you are. So let's
And if you want to, just briefly, if you want to talk about Joan of Arc, she may have gone to battle. She went to battle for the right reason, but her sense of warriorship was overcoming the flames as she was taken down and ascending therein.
Indeed. All right. Here, I'm going to try to do this. People. Oh, no. Oh.
I'll keep digging till I find. I need a place where I can hear myself. I know it's somewhere in between heaven and hell. Sometimes it's lonely even when you're not alone. So hard to see the future in all the unknown. We are warriors, not because we fight, because we sit inside the struggle and survive. We are ministers, not because we pray, but because we worship love among the ashes that remain. Buried somewhere deep inside, I'll keep digging till I find. Buried somewhere deep inside, I'll keep digging till I find. Buried somewhere deep inside, I'll keep digging till I find. Buried deep inside the grief, I'll keep digging till I find peace. I'll keep digging till I find peace. I wish I had all the answers in my mind. Nothing gets me, I know how to duck and dive. Then I remember distantly the way it feels when the hope that I sow grows into a field of dreams. Dreams. We are warriors, not because we fight, because we sit inside the struggle and survive. We are ministers, not because we pray, but because we worship love among the ashes that remain. Buried somewhere deep inside, I'll keep digging till I find. Buried somewhere deep inside, I'll keep digging till I find. Buried deep inside the grief, I'll keep digging till I find peace. We are warriors, not because we fight, because we sit inside the struggle and survive. We are ministers, not because we pray, but because we worship love among the ashes that remain. Buried somewhere deep inside, I'll keep digging till I find. Buried somewhere deep inside, I'll keep digging till I find. Buried deep inside the grief, I'll keep digging till I find peace. I'll keep digging till I find the peace.
Wow. All right, woman. That was absolutely extraordinary. I'm
Yeah,
tears are running down my face.
I want to just give a shout out to my co-worker, the producer and music man behind that is Nicholas Roch, and he goes by On Wednesday as his artist name online. That's it. I just like to include the people who've worked with it.
No, and it's good.
With me
You need
on
to
stuff.
shout out, of course. because we are lifting everybody up. When we're a warrior, we're lifting everybody up.
It's a lot of weight to hold.
Yeah. The digging deep inside is so the spiritual journey. Everyone always thinks that it's outside themselves. I mean, this is patriarchy. Everything's outside. This is religion. It's outside. It's inside.
Yeah.
Digging deep inside. It's inside.
In the grief.
In the grief, in the joy, in the paradox.
I oddly wrote this before we did our ritual that is we discuss on the first that maybe people can go to the YouTube and watch. That incredible ritual is that my insight from that you brought out in me, though I was skeptical and a little anxious about it. Am I going to do it right? Blah, blah, blah. Is that it's digging in it's digging in the grief. It's digging up the grief. It's sitting in the grief. It's there, and you have to just be a part of it. And that's where the peace lies.
And it's such a profound journey and such a profound discovery. And people are so afraid to acknowledge that, which is why I try to talk about grief so often on the shows, because it really does, if you are willing to be a warrior and to sit with it and to go through it.
Yeah.
The silver lining is magnificent, but it's not without pain.
Oh, it's impossible.
But that's life. But people want to bypass that. That's why so much of spirituality, this is why I say I'm not precious, is that, it's like love and light and laughter and and it's also the shadow. And it's the willingness to look at these things that don't turn us on, that require patience and love towards ourselves, towards others. I mean, the shadow is also lovely things about ourselves, the golden shadow about things that are fantastic that we don't want to own, but the shadow is all about things we don't want to own, which in this moment is our grief and our pain and our trauma, etc. But anyway, wow, that's incredible.
There's a reason why people are so afraid of it. It's a quite impossible journey. And in going through it, it's not a non-linear thing, which is so funny about organized religion is, there's this belief, if you go to Catholics, if you go to confession on Saturday and then you go to mass on Sunday, you're done for like 6 more days.
And it's all, doesn't really matter what happens here. It's all going to be perky up there.
Right.
And this is a perfect way of ending. So paganism, Wiccan, witches, pagans, Druids, earth-based traditions, embodied spirituality, that we are here on earth to experience the beauty of this 3D mundane life, and to allow spirit to experience that through our earthly bodies, and it's that's why the veil is so powerful, because you get to bridge build. Okay, we're going to close things up. I'm going to quick raise a glass. We are going to raise our glass together, and I have a picture of my mother here and my grandmother on both sides, my maternal grandmother, and both of them were named Mary, of course. And I honor all my ancestors, but today on Halloween, on Samhain, which is New Year, I honor the women, because it's the women. In today's world, it's really about the women for me. And I honor what I walk in the world with, thanks to them, their shoulders upon which I stand. Cheers to our ancestors.
Cheers, darling.
So, listeners, you can find the glorious Leslie Ellis at Leslie Ellis, LESLIE, Ellis.com. You can find her on the socials, on the facials, as I like to call them, on the facials, the facials of Facebook, and And you're on Insta, right? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And, just put in, search her name. It comes right up. Well, my dear friend, my soul sister, Leslie Ellis, warrior, wisdom walker, bestie, and
Forever.
dear support forever. Thank you so much for being on the show, for sharing your beautiful talent, your gorgeous voice, and your friendship.
Always.
I love you madly.
Love you madly.
And to my listeners, thank you for listening. Remember always, you are at the edge of the miraculous. Happy Halloween.
Down on you, no man has fought.